Welcome to the Freewoman podcast.
Your weekly trip to Jayenna's basement.
Never a dull time.
Which honestly, of all the basements, is a pretty good one.
It is a good one.
There's no creepy serial killer waiting down here. Or is there?
Or is it dun dun dun? No, just a whole lot of truth.
Just some perimenopausal women who are sick of some things.
Yeah. Ready to talk about abuse.
Yes, it's always a fun time here.
I know, sometimes the kids are like, could we just watch a show without you guys commenting about the abuse that you're noticing in the characters? I'm like, I can't. I just can't now.
Once you see it, you can't unsee it.
Yeah.
It changes the whole way that you look at the world.
It does. Well, I actually think it's good for the kids. I'm like, yeah, great. Listen to us.
Yeah,
you're getting educated.
They're definitely at an advantage. I mean, their generation has so many more tools than we ever had as kids. I mean, I tried to explain this to my son the other day, what it was like growing up without the internet. I'm like, you don't understand. People would tell us things, and that was just truth.
That was
until
it.
10 years later, we found out it was made up nonsense.
And you're like, oh, what?
Yeah, I mean, like, my mom told me that dinosaur bones were here because when God made the earth, he used pieces of other planets. And I, believed that for a solid 5 years.
Oh my God, I've never heard that one. That's pretty good.
No, that's a common Mormon one.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh.
one of the uppers spread that belief back in, the 70s.
Oh. Our family didn't use that one. I think we did talk about the dinosaurs, but it was more of the dinosaurs were here to test the planet first, to make sure it worked okay. And then God wiped them out, and then it was our turn.
See, and we didn't have the internet to get online and fact check that shit.
No, we didn't.
Or listen to other people's stories. We were just like, that must be true, and we carried about our business.
Yeah, what really helped me was moving out of my small town and into a big city where Mormonism was not common, and I would just, mention a few things I was taught, and people were like, you are weird. And I was like, now that I'm saying it out loud, it is pretty weird.
Maybe we just don't talk about that anymore. We just, it's fine. Yeah, the things I said.
I know. It's like, oh my God.
Believed and thought.
It's embarrassing. Well, that's why we're doing this now. We're, helping to set some things straight and correct some of the things we've said.
Well, it's been funny to see how even with the internet and all this access to information, just literally more information than any human being could consume in a lifetime, how much people still select what they consume based on their biases. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of come full circle where we're back to where we used to be with people walking around saying crazy stuff.
And I'm like, you still believe that shit? Yeah, they do. People do. So it's probably just, some people just don't want to see. They want to keep their fantasy. They want to continue disassociating, even though they don't know what that is.
Hey, look at you bringing up the topic of the day.
See how I just put that in there?
Dissociation. Just cleverly snuck that in there.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm trying to be smooth.
Yeah, that's the thing, is you can have reality coming in as strong as you want, and some people will still resist it. And I guess everyone's threshold for cognitive dissonance is different. But yeah, we have some pretty impressive gymnastics going on in our reality right now.
People just don't want to see. They just keep scrolling on their phones, keep watching shows, and keep ignoring what's really happening.
Kind of even a bragging point where people are like, "Oh, I don't pay attention to that stuff. It's gonna lower my vibration." You mean reality?
Yeah, that is funny that you say that. A lot of people do use that term, lower my vibration. I'm like, no, this is just facing what's really happening in the world and what could happen. Reality
makes you depressed?
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Reality should make you depressed. Have you seen the shit that's going on out there? Even in your own, environment, if you ignore everything and if you're living with someone toxic, yeah, I mean, I used to disassociate. There's a reason why I did that.
Disassociation is wonderful. And yeah, it has its place.
Yeah.
It's a survival mechanism.
Yeah.
But if we disassociate for too long, if it's our, I guess, default function, then we don't connect with reality enough to change our lives, to change our world, to change our planet.
Yeah,
And we
well,
just live in this disassociative fantasy.
well, something bad happens, and then we're all wondering, well, how did this even happen? It's been happening. You just haven't been paying attention. You've been choosing to not pay attention.
Well, you know the meme where the dog is sitting there at his computer and the house is burning around him and he
Yeah.
says everything is fine? That is a great representation of disassociation.
Yeah.
It's like at some point you got to snap out of it and you got to put out the fire, guys.
Yeah, or you're just gonna burn down with the house.
And I get that we can't like control what's happening on a global scale. You're just like one tiny human being amidst billions. But you can control your own space, right?
Well, isn't there like a phrase where it says change the world by changing yourself? Like it starts like by you actually doing your own inner work, by you waking up, by you making the change. Like that's the only way we may even see a shift.
Well, I think that is one of the most fascinating aspects of abuse cycles is as I started to figure out, you know, like my abusive relationship that I was in, it was this ripple effect where suddenly I realized unhealthy dynamics in my friendships. And then I was realizing, like, I started interacting with my pets and the animals that I was around differently too. And I started interacting with my children differently and family members differently.
Yeah.
And even like social interactions and workplace. And we think that we're disconnected. We think that like this one problem is just this one problem, but it actually affects everything.
Yeah, it's like a ripple effect. It is, well, we're all connected.
Yeah, and if you heal that like abuse pattern, that toxic system in yourself, even how you treat yourself, it does ripple into other areas of your life. And even having boundaries with a toxic partner or family member, that ripples outwards. Suddenly they're not being enabled anymore.
Well, that is why it's so hard to leave abusive situation, abusive homes, abusive workplace, because it does cause like that ripple effect of all the other people who maybe were involved with the abuse as well.
I mean, you've definitely seen that with your family.
Oh, yeah, I've experienced it. It was really painful.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really painful because
All change is.
all changes.
It's uncomfortable.
And you know, I can see why people maybe want to disassociate, or why I used to disassociate and maybe stay in the toxic environment, because in a way it is comfortable because it's familiar, it's what you know. But you know,
it doesn't require loss and
but
yeah.
eventually, I don't know, it's like you're betraying yourself and you are living in this fantasy world. And for me, I just started to have moments of like where I was waking up, and once you kind of wake up and start seeing reality or the abuse, it's really hard to continue pretending. So you just have to choose. Am I going to continue to pretend the rest of my life in this abusive dynamic and even allowing myself to be abused, even abusing myself? Or am I going to choose the path, the path for myself, the awakening path, the journey, and knowing that, you know, you may lose a lot of things and people along the way.
Yeah, there's kind of a collective disassociation that's going on where as a collective we don't like those uncomfortable truths. We don't like those unpleasant realities.
Yeah.
And so we kind of encourage people just to go along to get along.
Yeah.
Just to be the peacemaker, just to take that quote high road, which is really you just getting steamrolled by all of this toxicity that we live in.
Yeah, it's awful. It's really uncomfortable.
Yeah, and so it makes people uncomfortable when you start going against the grain, when
Yeah.
you start saying, no, this isn't okay, this isn't acceptable, I'm not going to continue to participate in this collective fantasy, because it starts to make their reality less pretty.
Yeah, it's also kind of opening up the curtains too for them, and they're starting to see things too, or notice things too, and that's why they can get really upset with you. They can also increase the abuse towards you too, or with
It escalates it.
It escalates it. Like with my family, I never really considered myself the scapegoat in the family before, But when I started to go against the grain, when I started to choose walking away from abuse, yeah, I became the scapegoat in the family, and it's painful. And they all triangulated against me, and there was all this gossip, and I was all of a sudden this bad guy, and I was just trying to survive.
Yeah.
So it's hard waking up and facing reality and facing the truth, and sometimes you can't, like, sometimes you're not even capable, like, there's not enough, like, it for your brain, it's like too much for the brain too.
What even does disassociation look like?
Well, that is a great question, Jayenna.
So we're talking about disassociation, all this great stuff about disassociation.
Okay,
what does it look like?
Well, for me, it's kind of
disassociation expert.
well, I guess it's ignoring. For me, it's kind of ignoring things, even if, like, I'm kind of feeling something's bothering me, I'll choose to ignore it. And then it's kind of, for me, disassociation is like going into my mind, into my little fantasy world, focusing on the things that just make me happy instead of facing the things that will bring me discomfort, which is facing the reality of maybe something bad is happening.
Yeah. I know that a lot of disassociation involves kind of creating this fantasy. This, like you said, only focusing on like certain little positive snippets to create this kind of different version than what is actually happening, ignoring all like these negative, ignoring the red flags.
Yeah.
Ignoring the signs that it's like, yeah, this is what this is, because it's almost too much. I know that my way of handling when I was having difficult emotions in my abusive relationship is I did a lot of working out. I did a lot of running, which I think is a great symbol.
Yeah.
And so I would be feeling the abuse. I would be feeling how uncomfortable it was. I'd be feeling how uncomfortable my life is. And then I would go and run until I got my runner's high and didn't feel those things anymore, and could come home and pretend again.
Yeah. That's a great example. I didn't even think about it like that. I would over clean and keep things organized. That was one way I would disassociate.
Yeah. Yeah, that's I think a common one, because it's, and it worked with the running too. Like, this is something as a woman and a homemaker that you're supposed to be doing anyway.
Yeah.
And so you're fulfilling that duty, that check, and you're also distracting yourself from how unhappy you are.
Well, and just working out too, it does help move the emotions and the energy of what's going inside. And then, like you said, you get on that runner's high and then you feel really good. But then what happens when you have abused your body so much because you have overworked out and then you don't have that anymore? It's like, how are you then going to avoid the heavy negative feelings that come in?
Yeah, it was a coping tool. He would be, being emotionally or psychologically abusive, and I would just be feeling this frustration, this anger, and I knew that there was no point having it out with him, and so I would go run.
Just go for a run.
And it would move all of that emotion for me, and then I could come back and I could keep pretending.
Yeah.
And I was able to pretend for over 10 years that way, because I used the running
as a way. And exercise is a great tool to help move emotions, but
I've always been like, I'm glad I did that and not alcohol.
I know. I know, kidding.
Yeah, drugs are a dissociative tool as well.
Yeah, you need to find a balance in the way you are going to move your emotions. Like, but again, like, the exercise can become abusive, just like alcohol, drugs, food's another way, sweets.
I created
shopping,
kind of like. I read a lot of romance novels. I went through a period where that was my tool. Is I just read so much. Just, I can't even explain. Something about like the hit of reading about this like fairy tale romance.
Yeah.
And a lot of the guys were like borderline abusive too, and so it kind of normalized what I was experiencing. That was a great disassociative tool for me. I just consumed that stuff like crazy for a hot minute.
That's funny because we just went into a bookstore last week too, and the ladies there were talking about how fast their hot romances sell out, and they're like, "Yeah, I guess a lot of ladies here really love their romances."
Yeah, and we live in such a conservative, rigid, patriarchal area, just like very like farm country,
kind of like
religious, old school, and the women love the hot romance.
Yeah, well, they're just like so dry inside. They need something.
That's what it was like. It was like it was meeting a need that my partner wasn't meeting.
Yeah, so disassociation
and creating the fantasy that if I hung on long enough, I would get the happily ever after.
Yeah, I did that a little bit with books too, or shows, like romance shows. And then it would make me feel kind of good, and then it was like okay to kind of play along with the romance of my marriage, which was just a big old lie.
Kind of allowed you to turn your relationship into this romantic fantasy.
Yeah, it helped. I mean, that's why it lasted so long, until it just wasn't working anymore. The disassociation.
Yeah.
The fantasy wasn't working anymore.
The creating the fantasy, and I think a lot of people do this where it's like you hold on. If just as soon as he gets the promotion, or as soon as we can move, or as soon
when we have kids, it will change things.
Or as soon as the kids grow up. You know, it's like you always like have like kind of this like carrot that you're dangling that's like, this one problem is clearly the reason we're not happy. And as soon as we get to here,
if we get more money,
everything will be better. Yeah.
And guess what? It's not true. It's still just the same problem.
As soon as we get the nice house, or if we can just go on the vacation, or if we can just, and so you're kind of constantly chasing that initial high that you got when you were being love bombed in the relationship, and trying to get back to it. And then it becomes this addiction. It's an addiction. And the disassociation helps you endure what would otherwise make you break you. or make you leave.
Well, yeah, and I was just thinking about that as you were talking. I was like, for me, like the disassociation, it did kind of create this like bubble for me until the bubble just wasn't working anymore. And mainly it stopped working because my body was not allowing me to pretend anymore. My body was starting to kind of call the shots.
Your body was reacting to the abuse in a way that your mind didn't understand.
Yes, and then my mind as well started to kind of crack. Because you can only handle so much abuse through a time period of your life. And I had it since childhood, all the way through my marriage, and it was like I just couldn't pretend anymore. My body wasn't letting me, my mind wasn't letting me, even though I didn't really understand what was going on. But then once inside I kind of disappeared and went through that depression thing.
Yeah.
I realized I'm like, maybe we have some trauma. I was like, maybe something's really going on with me right now. And then I was like, every time my ex would walk in the room or come touch me, I just wanted to cry. I was like, maybe something's going on with me. Maybe something's really happening. Yeah. And I should address it.
I didn't have the body thing. It was like this deep depression just kind of settled over me. I had chased the carrot for so long that I think around the 10-year mark of my relationship, I realized it's never going to happen.
Yeah.
And this is just how life is. And then it made me pretty depressed. It was this almost flat sinking kind of feeling.
Yeah.
Of this is all that it's ever going to be. We're never going to achieve any of our dreams. He's never going to change. It's just going to be like this forever.
Yeah, it's a pretty heavy sinking hole.
But I didn't feel like I could leave. And so it was just this feeling of like acceptance.
Well, this is it. This is just life. This
exactly.
Is it.
I guess we're nothing special and life isn't anything like we thought it was going to be.
Yeah, and then that makes you pretty depressed too.
Yeah, it did. Yeah.
I'm just so impressed that neither of us turned to drugs or alcohol.
Well, I was always like, I'm really glad that alcohol doesn't work for me like it does for some people, because that would have been very tempting
Yeah, it would
to
have.
slip into that. So, we just did the running thing, and we were super skinny and super hot, and that was its own kind of high
Yeah.
when we had nothing else as a woman.
Yeah. That does help to get that kind of attention too when you look like that.
I mean, it was rapey attention, but it was something. I had nothing else.
Well, at the time you didn't realize it though, because we've talked about
I was
that
like,
as
oh, they
well.
just think I'm so pretty. They
Yeah.
just all want me.
Yeah, now you you see it for what it is.
Yeah,
And you're
it
like,
just-
actually that was like very rapey.
Just the lack of, yeah, it's just this objectification of women, and it's like all we're allowed to have is that beauty,
Yeah.
and they don't even see you as a human. Yeah, that's not actually great. Once you figure out what that is,
You're like, oh, ew, ew. Like, I don't want anybody else to look at me or touch me now. There's
Yeah.
all these just disgusting older men walking around and complimenting you. You're like, bleh. Get
well, I
away.
didn't start to see that until I started to heal my rape trauma, and then that just really was another illusion that was taken away. I was like, oh, that's actually not flattering when they're looking at me like that. That's actually disgusting. Especially the old, gross men
With big pot bellies.
with big pot. I'm just like, oh,
Ew. I know.
yeah. And so there's just been so many fantasies and illusions that have been collective as well as individual. And every time you do some healing work, one of those fantasies gets taken away, and
It's not.
it's like the Truman Show, where
Yeah.
the world is less pretty, but it's real.
Yeah, it's just really uncomfortable. You're like, oh my God, how much more truth do I need to see? Like,
It's just a
how
never
awake
ending.
do I want to be?
And then you have to just live in this reality, and it's real, but it's not pretty. I mean, sure, there are beautiful things in this world, but the reality of what we as humans are doing and choosing and living in is horrific.
It's awful.
It's a lot to live in without a filter every day.
I'm like, well, I don't know. I mean, I get why people want to live in the fantasy and disassociate. I mean, I get it.
Well, it's become gotten to the point where there is purposeful disassociation, where I'm like, we need to disassociate for a little while because there's nothing we can do to fix this right now, and we need a little pleasure in our life.
Yeah. Well, it just makes me so angry that I'm like, we do need to disassociate a bit today, or this weekend.
Let's go find a nice book to lose ourselves in.
Because otherwise, I'm going to go a little cuckoo. I might just lose my mind because it's just so disgusting what's happening in the human race right now and what is happening on this planet.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, and nobody cares.
But there's a difference when it's intentional, when you're like, I need to go and check out, take a bath, read a book, decompress, versus I am confusing my fantasy with my reality.
Yeah. Well, I guess that just shows how far you've come in your healing when you actually make a choice that today we're going to disassociate and it's going to be okay.
Eat, drink, and be merry,
Yeah.
right? Oh no, our Christian roots are showing.
I guess we'll keep some pieces of it.
Yeah, and we see it in our kids too. The disassociation has been, I mean, just the amount of social media and I guess jabber that they hear all day long on the internet.
Well, just how much they scroll on
The
their phone.
scrolling, the fantasies,
Yeah.
the illusions, and some of them are even like, negative. They get sucked into like, my one son loves listening to political debates, and I'm like,
know.
that's not healthy for you.
Yeah, don't do that.
Like just people just trying to humiliate each other and parade themselves over each other.
Yeah, they really love doing that.
Yeah. But then, I have my other daughter, she likes just watching a lot of like the cartoons and the anime and the fantasy stuff, the stuff that makes the world pretty. And it's been interesting trying to educate them about how the world works versus what they're receiving
I know.
through their scrolling.
Yeah, I think they appreciate that we're teaching them and that we're showing them because I do feel like sometimes they think that they're overreacting or maybe sometimes even underreacting. And like, I just feel like this is a problem. What's happening? I'm like, oh no, it is.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's like it's a manipulation technique, right? It's the same thing that abusive people do, and it's happening on the internet now. It's a way of controlling information, controlling people's reactions, making people very reactive, or putting them into an almost
Like a sleep.
a sleep state.
Yeah, like Sleeping Beauty.
It's okay. Let's watch a video on how to put on your mascara. Oh. And then they
And they do the
click,
tapping thing.
the tap, 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 tap.
I know my daughter really loves that one. It helps calm her mind.
It's just because she's neurodiverse.
I know.
So, okay. I guess the point is disassociation, bad. But if you are doing your healing work and you need to take a break from how awful your reality is, you can use it in moderation.
You can.
I guess know yourself. If you're a recovering alcoholic, don't even give yourself one drink.
No, never. Don't do that.
If you're recovering from a dissociation addiction, you need to abstain.
Yeah. Well, if you want a really good example of what disassociation looks like, we just watched a TV series called Kevin Can Go Fuck Himself. It is so good. It was actually kind of triggering to watch, and there's sometimes kind of heavy because I was like, wow, this is too real. It's very real, but I loved it because they showcased it very well. And if you want to watch the show, maybe don't continue listening to us talk because we might accidentally put some spoilers out there. But it's a really good show of showing the abuser, the narcissist, of how his world is the only world, the only reality, and you have to do whatever you can to uphold and appease his reality, or else your life is a nightmare. Even though your life already is a nightmare, you're just always trying to manage and take care of everything.
Yeah.
And then what happens to him when he loses his people, when his circle gets tired of him and they all leave?
Well, I think what I liked so much about that show is that it showed psychological abuse. And that's not very often depicted in a accurate way.
Yeah.
Like how intense the psychological abuse is, how much of a drain and how toxic and how debilitating it is on the victims that are around this person that's very psychologically abusive. Because we can all, see a man in a fit of rage being violent and be like, that is horrific.
Abusive.
But the psychological stuff is much more subtle.
It's really difficult to figure out. That is the abuse I went through with my ex-husband, Mr. Rooster, for 17 years. And I've been divorced for 7 now. And I would say the last 2 years, I'm finally seeing it. Like, I finally am not making excuses for him anymore, even post-divorce. Now I'm just like, oh, that's just abuse. Like, you're an asshole.
Yeah.
But it takes so much time to kind of figure it out. Like, for me, it was like my body was just drained. I didn't want him to be around me anymore. Like, something was seriously going on with me because it was 17 years of doing that. And then even post-divorce, it just took me several years of healing and having new relationships, standing up for myself, loving myself, and going through therapy to finally realize the depth of psychological abuse that I just thought was normal. I thought I was the problem. I thought it was me. I never thought I was doing enough. I never thought I was good enough either. But that's what I really liked about this show too, because just seeing the reaction of his wife in the show.
Well, and you see when she loses the fantasy and how it kind of breaks her for a minute.
Yeah.
She kind of is a little cuckoo. Because it is just so jarring, and then there's so much rage and grief around that realization of just how much has been taken from you, how deeply you've been betrayed, and how much of a trap you are now in. And that's the thing with psychological abuse. I mean, any kind of abuse is they wait until you are pretty well ensnared to escalate the abuse.
Yeah.
And so that's why the dissociation happens, is because you're stuck financially, or you have a kid with them, or whatever it is. You share a living space or something, it's very difficult to get out of the situation, and then they start behaving in these horrific ways towards you, these belittling, demeaning, dehumanizing ways. And so you kind of start to like go somewhere else when the abuse is happening. And you find ways like running or whatnot to like move the emotion so that you can, because there's no easy way out of the situation.
Yeah.
And so I thought that was really interesting, because Kevin can go fuck himself. The show, her initial response is, well, I just have to kill him.
Yeah.
Because it's not going to be a simple process of leaving. And I'm like, God,
She's like, I can't just leave.
Yeah. And not that we should go around killing people. I mean, maybe we should, I don't know. But it does such a great job of showing how difficult it is. And one of my favorite things about the show is, and another way that it's so realistic, is that justice doesn't actually come from anything except her deciding to walk away and speak the truth.
Yeah.
And that is the only way there is any kind of justice. And really, Kevin just is his own justice in the end. And that is the truth with narcissistic people, is we go through something so horrific that we can't even quite put words to it. And we just really deeply, at this like soul level, want there to be some kind of justice.
Like justice, or for them to be seen.
For them to be seen, because they're the manipulation and just like how much they're rewarded for their behavior.
Look what they've done to me. And because most people don't see, because they're all like disassociating too, or they're also abusive.
Yeah, they're just in the cycle as well. But it's not going to come. And I think that's why a lot of people like to push forgiveness, is this idea of letting go. But I don't see it as so much as forgiveness as accepting that what happened is about them and letting them own it.
Well, and
you letting go of any attachment to this whole disgustingness of abuse that happened, and like setting yourself free.
Is walking away. That was like a big epiphany for me too when I was at the end of my marriage, is when I realized, I think I had this like as a visual when I did like a meditation, because I was just starting to do that. And it was when I realized I was this bird in a cage, and then I saw that I actually had the key in my hand, and that all I had to do was unlock it myself and leave. Like, he didn't have the key. No one had the key. It was like me that had the power. And that was just this moment of empowerment too. But I also had to choose to leave the cage, because, it's my little home.
Yeah.
And I was pretty comfortable in that cage.
Well, the cage also keeps things out.
It does. Yeah, it's pretty scary when you decide to fly away and choose for better, for the unknown. But I did it, and it was terrifying. But I'm so grateful that I did it 7 years ago, because, wow, I don't even know who I would be if I was still in that relationship.
So how do we help people heal from dissociation? I feel like that is it's a kind of a trauma brain function that happens. If you have CPTSD, your brain kind of automatically goes and like goes other places whenever you start to feel like anxiety or like elevated emotions. And so how do you begin to come in? How do you learn to stay in your body and to stay in reality when something stressful is happening?
Well, some of the tools that really helped me, I've said this before, tapping really helps me. I now realize I used to have extreme anxiety, like panic attack attacks coming in, where I couldn't even breathe. And so one of the things I started to do to help that is I would close my eyes, and I will visualize my feet touching the ground. And then I visualize the anxiety leaving my body through my feet. It's like every exhale, I'm like, this anxiety can leave my body. Like this anxiety doesn't own me or control me. And so it helps bring me back into my body so I don't go into a panic attack, but also so I don't disassociate. So that was like something I discovered when I started doing yoga, just breathing, learning to breathe.
Yeah.
And it like just changed my world, because when I would have my panic attacks or I would disassociate, I couldn't make decisions for myself.
Exactly. It puts you in like a panic state.
Yeah, I can't think for myself. I can't even speak or communicate. And sometimes I would actually just automatically start crying because the panic brings in this like fear from childhood of I'm in trouble, I'm not safe. So once I learned how to ground and to exhale the anxiety out of my body, I was able to start to think, and my emotions, like those fears, wouldn't take over. Yeah. And it's progress. It takes time. Like I've been doing that for the last 7 years. Like I don't go into panic like I used to. I still get the body trembles at times. Sometimes I still disassociate, but we come back into reality pretty quick now.
Was it a process even realizing that it was happening or that you were doing it because it was such a default?
Let me think. So I started doing it in yoga. I did yoga training while I was going through the process of going through divorce. So it was like a perfect timing to have that happen and have that tool. I don't know. I just remember one time learning to take my time with my inhales and exhales. And I just felt this like shift in my body. I felt this lightness come in and this calmness come into my brain. And I just started using that each time I had to do something for like my divorce or papers or facing my ex. And I decided, I just kind of created that visual in my mind that the anxiety is leaving my body. I just did it one day in the car and I was like, wow, I feel so much better. Like, I feel like I can actually do this right now.
Yeah.
So once it just kind of like clicked in my head, it became like my superpower tool. Yeah. And I've just been doing that ever since. So
yeah, I'm trying to think of how I came out of it. I feel like there's two different levels to this. There's the first level, and that's you're still in the abusive relationship, but you're starting to realize the reality of the situation. And I think that, breathing techniques, tapping techniques, all of those things can really help you while you're in that. But I don't think the brain, well, I know the brain will not fully heal itself until you are abuse free.
yeah.
And so there's another level of healing of the mind and those dissociative patterns that happens once you're free of the situation. So you have to, I think that getting to places like, doing yoga, or if there's maybe the gym or just somewhere you can go on your run, somewhere you can go that you can get out of the environment and that you can breathe and that you can think clearly and you can make decisions. I think that's like the first step. And then once that you can finally get to a place that you get to live in an environment that's abuse free, that's like the next level of healing the nervous system, because it really, CPTSD is a brain / nervous system malfunction that happens from being in an abusive survival scenario for so long.
It feels like a handicap.
It is.
It really takes over, and I at moments felt like I couldn't do anything.
Yeah, I remember like almost just like once I was in a safe place, in a safe home, and my life had finally become stable, I almost felt like I was like running in circles in my own home, but not doing anything. And then I'd be like, why am I doing this? What's happening? Like, what's going on? But it was just like, I was so used to being in fight or flight that I didn't know how to just be.
I went through the same thing when I moved out and was in my apartment and it was just quiet. And then I'd be like, almost like shaky in a way because I'm like, I feel like I need to do something. But it was like, but you don't have to. It was my body learning to just relax. Like, you are safe now and you can do what you want and you can just do nothing. And it was like, I don't know how to do this.
Yeah. Yeah, I
It
didn't
was,
know how to rest. I didn't know how to be still. I didn't know how to like bring in the calmness so that my mind could flow. I was so hardwired for just fight or flight or freeze.
yeah, to survive. Yeah, I went through that too. Actually, going outside a lot helped me. Sometimes just laying outside on the grass or on the
Just
ground,
breathing.
leaning against a tree and just breathing. That really helps me with my nervous system as well.
Yeah, I started talking to myself once I realized what was going on. I started telling myself, like, you are safe. And I would like kind of describe to myself where I was. I'm like, you're in your living room.
Yeah.
You're sitting on your couch.
Yeah.
There's nothing bad here. It is safe. Like actually like letting myself on multiple levels feel that I was safe.
Same. I started talking to myself too. I started doing yoga nidra, which is like a sleep yoga. It's really amazing if you've never tried it. It helped me a lot with my anxiety and panic attacks when I was on my own and I was trying to figure out how I was going to financially take care of myself and my children.
Yeah.
Because I was so happy to be out of what I was, but then just that heaviness of I am responsible of everything now and how I'm going to make this financially work. And I would lay on the ground and I would do the yoga nidra or sometimes tap and I would just talk out loud and tell myself, right now in this moment, we are okay. We are alive. We are breathing. We are safe. Right now, we have a place that we've paid for. Right now, we have food in the fridge.
Yeah.
Right now, we're okay. I can't do anything about tomorrow because I'm not even living in it anymore. And I would have to do that almost daily for a while because I would just, when I realized I needed to pay for something or when I was planning for the future, I would instantly go into a panic attack and shaking and not being able to breathe. And I'm like, okay, calm down.
Yeah.
We're safe. Like right now, we're alive. We're breathing. We have everything we need.
Well, as your nervous system is heightened from the trauma, from the prolonged trauma, it struggles to know how to be calm. It struggles to understand that it is actually safe. And the default mechanism for dealing with prolonged trauma is to be in a dissociative state.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a nervous system brain thing that you're trying to bring back in. Like the yoga is really good for that, but you know,
yoga's
maybe yoga's
amazing.
not your thing. You can do other things like anything that helps you feel your body and that helps you communicate to your body that it is safe to be here.
Yeah.
And then you kind of like start to build that muscle, just like if you're going to the gym, you know, you start to strengthen yourself so that then you can exist in higher and higher levels of stress without disassociating.
Yeah.
Which is essential to your survival.
It is very essential. Well, and once you start doing this, it's great because you are like building this new muscle and it's like you have this new safety shell on, this like you feel safe, you feel good, you know what feels good, this new person you're building, and that will help you to navigate if you have to, for example, have any interaction with someone who had abused you, or if you meet people and it starts to feel familiar to the abuse you used to live in. And so this helps you to really
Helps you
know
stay out of future abuse.
exactly. And even though it's really hard to have boundaries, then you start creating these boundaries and then you're creating this really safe environment for yourself. And if you have any children, for your children as well, which is just the ultimate gift and goal when you start healing and like walking away from toxic people or situations or
Yeah, and
environments.
I think also it's good to remind people that it's okay to feel all of the awful feelings.
Yeah.
Because as you start to come into reality and let go of this coping mechanism of disassociation, you are going to have rage.
Oh yeah.
You are going to have depressive episodes.
Yeah.
Like the enormity of reality is going to feel overwhelming.
It's a lot.
Therapy or a support group, if that's online, something that can help ground you as
The
you go through
Freewoman
that.
podcast.
The Freewoman. Hello, we're here.
Hello.
A good friend, but also just know that nobody else can do this for you, and you're just going to have to sit with some really uncomfortable emotions. And I used to tell myself, as the dissociation was going away and I was starting to feel all of the feelings, I used to just remind myself that no emotion lasts forever. It's horrible right now. It's not going to last forever. And you just kind of ride that wave and you do whatever self-care you need to get through it.
Yeah. That was the next thing I was going to say. I know.
and then you get to the other side of it.
Pat on the back.
And that muscle gets a little stronger and a little stronger and a little stronger. Next thing you know, you're a badass warrior. We can't go into battle staring at the clouds. You have to be staring at what is exactly in front of you. And you have to be aware of the sword and the shield that you are holding. You cannot be off in La La Land or you are going to get killed.
Yeah, it's not going to be good.
And this reality that we're in is not gentle. It is not kind. It is not soft. You have to be awake.
There are just so many predators and people ready to take from you and destroy you.
Alive and your children.
Yeah. I had to learn that one the hard way. Trusted a lot of wrong people and lost almost everything because of it. But now I know.
Same.
Wake up. Wake up.
It's time to wake up.
Yeah, it is time to wake up.
It's the only way to save yourself and save the people you love.
It is. Well, and if you're going through this and you're going through the emotions, because it can be really heavy. It can be difficult.
Nothing that you're feeling is wrong. All of it is completely in alignment with waking up.
Yeah. I have found when you just said those, like, therapy has helped me so much because there's also techniques like the therapist, depending on the what the therapist has learned. But EMDR is amazing. There's tools that can help you process the feelings and emotions, but can also help rebuild and rewire your brain, which has been phenomenal for me. And also just having someone hear your stories and then validate what you've been through, someone see you and witness you and say that was abuse and that was not okay. Having someone I don't know just listen to me and tell me that, and not know my family or my ex or anybody I'm talking about, and just tell me that's abuse. I'm like, well, I thought so. I really thought so. I didn't like it. I didn't like the way it felt. But, everybody around me just acts like this is normal and that I just have to put up with this. And why am I getting so frustrated that I'm not going along with these men treating me like I'm some bitch they can touch whenever they want? I'm like, actually, no, I don't really want that. I don't really like that. It's great to have a therapist available to talk to about whatever it is you're going through, because it's a lot.
If therapy isn't an option, though, like we were saying before, we have at our fingertips more information than human being could consume in a lifetime. And there are so many somatic healing techniques online, breath work techniques.
There's so much available.
When I was like getting out of my abusive relationship, when I was just starting this journey and I wasn't in a safe space yet, I found a lot of things online that helped me. That's where I found out about square breathing. That was a game changer. I found out about tapping that way. I found meditations that helped me. I found journaling exercises.
Oh yeah,
and
journaling's
so
great too.
You can direct the internet to be to your advantage.
Yeah, we have it, so use it. Let's use it for the good tools that's on there.
If you can find a good therapist, great. I know that that in itself can be a journey, and I know that it can be cost prohibitive, but there are other techniques that are available at your fingertips, and the internet can be a fabulous tool in that way. And that's how I started my journey. I just was journaling and meditating and doing stuff that I found online, and it got me to the point that I was able to break out of the relationship and start creating a safe space for myself. And then it's just been like step by step by step of learning to come into reality and learning to face
Truth.
the truth.
Yeah, and just be patient with yourself. I mean, it does take time, and depending on how many years you were in this abuse cycle.
Likely from childhood.
Yeah.
You know, we live in an abusive society.
We do. And where it's like normalized.
Whether
and
it's
okay.
your parents or your school system or your friends or
Siblings.
your first boyfriend or
Yeah.
your siblings. Yeah.
Yeah, it's around all of us. It's everywhere. It's just piling on one on top of the other. There's a
Yeah,
lot more
it
abuse
is.
than like good, healthy, genuine people.
Yeah, that's why reality is so painful.
Yeah. But just be patient with yourself. Create the environment you want, the safe environment you want. That's going to help you through this process and this journey, because it can be a lot at moments, and it can feel overwhelming, and you can feel very alone too. But I also think it can be really good to not be around a lot of people when you're going through this.
Yeah.
Maybe just have like a really safe friend that you
Most
trust.
people don't understand and will minimize or be outright hostile
Yeah.
to you coming out of the fantasy,
Yes.
the illusion.
Yeah, so just expect maybe some haters, people that you thought were your friends. They may not be your friend anymore. So,
And just know that it's going to come in stages. It's not just like a straight off waterfall. It's kind of like a tiered one where you're going to
Yeah.
go shoom.
you're going rafting down a river.
Yeah, and then it's going to go shoom again.
Yeah.
And that's because everything is set up perfectly for you to strengthen that muscle little by little. And so you just be patient with yourself.
Yeah. Well, I do believe your subconscious knows how much you're ready for.
Yeah.
And you're...
Yeah, don't force anything.
And it just gives you the space to do like peel back one layer at a time. Because I can't even imagine when I started, if I peeled back all the way to the core.
Well, that's why people go crazy.
That's why you go cuckoo.
Yeah, when they sometimes take ayahuasca or psilocybin and they're maybe not ready or they're not in a safe environment and they go too far.
Yeah, we've been hearing more and more about people going crazy that have done ayahuasca because they were not in a safe environment, or they just did too much. So please honor yourself and please be wise and just trust your
everything
intuition.
that you feel as you feel it is completely correct.
Yeah.
And remember that no feelings last forever. It's like a river. Just let yourself flow through it.
Remember to like and subscribe.